Hello everybody and welcome to Mr. Stansfield's education videos. Today we're going to be taking a look at how to create a kaleidoscope. The first thing you're going to want to do is select a photo, and you'll notice that the photos that I have here for my examples are going to be photos that have a lot of color and a lot of texture. Things like lines, lots of different colors, and specifically a photo that has lots of colors and textures and lines, details in the right side of the photo. The left side actually doesn't really matter. I would encourage you to start here with a horizontal photo like one of these. If you have a vertical photo like this, it's really easy to rotate it. So you can grab a vertical photo, but if you want your image to match what I'm doing here on Photoshop, then I recommend rotating it so it's exactly the same. I'm going to go ahead and choose this photo because I wanted to highlight something. I'm going to go ahead and double click it to open it from Bridge into Photoshop, but you can open it however you want. I want to highlight that this area of the photo here is a solid color, and I want to crop that out. Basically, like I said, we're only going to use the right side of the photo, but on the right side of the photo over here, I want this part to fill the frame. So I'm going to use the crop tool over here. Now you can see my toolbar over here. It might look slightly different than yours. It depends on the version of Photoshop and your settings. But find the crop tool. Now if I mouse over on the crop tool here, you'll notice that it pops up and you can see a little C in a box next to where it says crop tool. You can see what the shortcut key is for each tool by putting your mouse over that tool. So the crop tool is a tool I use a lot, and so I use the shortcut key. Here you can see the letter C. So we're going to go ahead and click on the letter C the next time we want to use the crop tool. So I've got the crop tool selected. I also want to make sure that this is clear. I don't want any numbers in these boxes up here. Okay, so it's the default you can see is a ratio, but you don't want any numbers up here. So you want to clear that by clicking this button here. Now I'm going to go ahead and crop out the sky. And like I said, I don't really care too much about the left side of the photo. So I'm going to try to keep roughly the same aspect ratio. And I'm going to crop that out just like that. When I'm done, I can click the check mark up here or the return key on the keyboard. The next step is to double click on the background. We're going to go ahead and click on the background here in the layer stack. Go ahead and double click on background. You will see new layer, layer 0. Just click OK, and we can go on to the next step. The next step is to use the Free Transform tool, and we can find that under the Edit menu. If you click on Edit and then go about halfway down, you see Free Transform. Now I did want to highlight here on the menu that you can use shortcut keys, and the next time I want to free transform something, I'm going to use the shortcut key, Command T. How you're going to do that is hold the Command key, which is next to the spacebar, and press the T on the keyboard. So hold the Command and press T. I'm going to go ahead and click it, Free Transform, and I'm ready to go on to the next thing. I want to rotate this 60 degrees. So at the top here, you can see one of the options is this little diagram icon that indicates rotation. So we're going to go ahead and highlight those 0.00, type in 60 for 60 degrees, and then we're going to go move this image to the upper left-hand corner like so. We're going to click anywhere in that box and drag it up. Now you'll see here, it will snap to this white box and this white box here. They will snap into place on the left and at the top. That's what I want. I want to make sure that's exactly lined up like that. I don't want it down here like that. That's going to get me into trouble. I don't want it like this. I want it so that both of those corners snap into the left and the top of the frame. When I'm done, once again, I can click this little check mark or the return key on the keyboard. The next step is to grab the Magic Wand tool. Now the Magic Wand tool is here, you can see on my toolbar. However, most likely you will have the Object Selection tool. If you've got the latest version of Photoshop, and I accidentally pressed the Object Selection tool, so it's going to be thinking for a second. There we go. If you see this, you can see the Object Select tool pops up when I mouse over it, and you can see that the W key is next to it, so that's the shortcut key. But I can click and hold that. And if I click and hold the Object Selection tool, you'll see the submenu here. I can get the Magic Wand tool. So you're going to go ahead and click on the Magic Wand tool, and then you can move on to the next step, which is to highlight or select all of this area down here that isn't the photo. And then we're going to invert the selection, which is to say, select everything that we haven't selected. Let's go up here to select at the top of the screen, and we're going to select inverse. And you can see here the shortcut key is Shift Command I. So we're going to invert the selection. You could do this with holding the Shift key, holding the Command key, and pressing the I key, or you could just click on it. Select inverse. Now, if you look carefully, you can see these marching ants. Let me zoom in a little bit and center my image so that you can see it in your screen a little bit bigger. I could even go even a little closer. There we go. You can see these marching ants, is sometimes what we call that. The black and white line that's moving around the selection. We can move on to the next step here, but that's what a selection looks like. If I go backwards, by the way, you can go over here to your history palette if you want to step backwards and go back to the last thing that we did. So you can see we opened it, cropped it, made a new layer, free transformed, selected the empty space using the Magic Wand tool, and selected the inverse. If I wanted to go back to the empty space selection, I could just choose the last history state, and you'll notice that the marching ants here go all the way around that empty space. I'm going to go forward though. I want this part selected, and then I can minimize my history. I'm going to go ahead and copy this selection. So I can do that up here under Edit, Copy. You can see that the shortcut key is Command C. Now notice that's different from the crop tool. The crop tool would just be C. In this case, Command C. That's what we're going to do to copy. We're going to go ahead and copy, and then we're going to create a new document. File, New. You can see the shortcut key is Command N. Now the first thing you're going to see is your recent items here. The clipboard is selected, and this image has the size of what we just selected. It will set the clipboard size as the new document. So let's go ahead and create that new document. It's going to be the size of the selection that we had, and then we're going to go ahead and paste. And you can see Command V is the shortcut key to paste, and it will paste that triangle into this space exactly. It goes from corner to corner, which is perfect. Let's go ahead and delete the background here. You can click and drag that down to the trash can at the bottom of the layer stack. So let's go ahead and click and drag background and then let go once we are over the trash can. Okay. Let's go ahead and make our canvas bigger. Let's go here under Image and go to Canvas Size. You can see this little funny symbol is the Option key. So Option Command C is Canvas Size. But we can also just click on that, and we're going to go here to the inches, click on that, and we're going to change this to percent, and we're going to change this to 400% and 800 height. 400% width, sorry, and 800% height. Click OK. So we're going to make this significantly bigger than it was. Now, where did my image go? Well, you can go up here to your navigator, or you can use some shortcut keys, or you can go to your menu to find where your image has gone. Here, under View, you can see that you have a zoom in, Command plus, that's a shortcut key, zoom out, Command minus, fit on screen, Command 0. These are three tools I use all the time. We're going to go ahead and choose fit on screen, and that way we can see what we're dealing with here. The next tool we're going to select is the Move tool. Go ahead and click on the Move tool, which is should be the top tool or the top left tool. Click and drag your triangle over here to the left side. Then we're going to duplicate the layer. So you can see over here, Layer 1. There is a shortcut key, and it is up here under Layer. And if you go here to Duplicate Layer, There isn't a shortcut key there, but if you go New, Layer via Copy, it's really the same thing as Duplicate Layer. So New, Layer via Copy, you can see the shortcut is Command J. So let's go ahead and hit Command J, and you can see Layer 1 and Layer 1 Copy. Why don't we notice anything over here? Because they're stacked right on top of each other. So let's go up here to the Edit, Transform, and then we can go down to Flip Vertical. And this is the first inkling of this kaleidoscope effect that you're going to see. Let's go ahead and click and drag this up so that it is right next to the other triangle, and it'll snap into place. We are starting to get somewhere. I'm going to use the shortcut keys to zoom in, Command plus, 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 oops, and it kind of went away over there. So I can use the hand grabber tool over here, click, and then that should allow me to click and drag that over. The other thing I could do is use my navigator, and you can see here I'm at 50%. I could drag this up to 100% if I wanted to look at it at 100%. It seems like 50% is pretty good for me, but your mileage may vary. Now it goes 52.2, that's not what I want. So I'm going to select that 50 exactly. That's going to be helpful to view what I've just done. I want to make sure that both of these triangles line up perfectly. So I'm going to get my Move tool again. Now if I put my mouse over the Move tool, what's the shortcut key? There it is, V. So V on the keyboard will select the Move tool. I'm going to click the top triangle, and I'm going to make sure that those are lined up. I'm going to zoom in, Command plus, and make sure that this is perfectly lined up. And it is. It looks perfect to me. I'm going to go ahead and hit Command 0. Remember, that's fit on the screen. And I'm going to merge these two layers here. Under the Layer, Menu, Layer, go all the way down to the bottom, and you have Merge Down and Merge Visible. You can see Shift Command E is Merge Visible. Let's go ahead and click Shift Command E, or you can click it here in the menu. Now it takes those two layers and creates one. And this triangle is going to be the base on which I build my kaleidoscope. I want to center my triangle here from top to bottom, and you can see a pink line will appear when it's centered. Okay, that's telling us that it is exactly center from top to bottom. Now I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this triangle that I've just made by clicking on this layer, and remember the shortcut key is Command J. So if I hit Command J, I now have two triangles, and I'm ready to make the next move. I'm going to go up here to the Free Transform again. So remember, Edit, Free Transform, that's Command T. So I'm going to hit Command T, and I'm going to rotate my Layer 1, Copy 2. I'm going to rotate this layer 60 degrees. I want to make sure that the pivot point is right here. So at the top, your default should be that this is unchecked. So go ahead and click this little checkbox, and then click this little box on the right middle. Then go over here to 60, and then click the little check mark, and we are ready to move on. Now I'm going to go ahead and hit Command plus. I'm going to zoom way in, and then I'm going to make sure that the triangles are perfectly lined up. Now you can see a thin line has appeared here in between my two triangles. So I'm going to, with the Move tool, click on that top layer, and then I'm going to use the arrow keys on the keyboard to just nudge that down ever so slightly so that it is lined up. Okay, I don't want any line there, and that looks pretty good. I'm going to hit Command 0 to zoom back out, and you can see we've got the beginning of our kaleidoscope. Now what we're going to do is basically the exact same thing that we've done. So the rest of this should go pretty easily if you followed so far. I'm going to go ahead and hit Command J, Command T, but I have to change my pivot point to this bottom corner here. I always want it to be the middle of this. So we're going to go ahead up here, click on that, and you can see the pivot point is now here in the middle. I'm going to change my rotation angle to 60 degrees, click my little check mark, zoom in, Command plus or Command Option 0. So here's another shortcut key that will get us to 100% zoom. And you can see here, if I click on that layer and then use my arrow keys on the keyboard to line that up, this little line here, that's okay. That's not a problem. I think that's part of when I cropped it, there was a little bit of a white space in this little part right here is what I'm talking about. Command minus a couple times, zoom out. That's looking really good so far. I'm going to go ahead and hit Command 0 to zoom all the way out, and we are ready to go on to the next step. So I've now done 3. I'm going to do 3 more, and I'll create a hexagon. So Command J, Command T, change the pivot point to, in this case, the bottom left. Then I'm going to go ahead and choose 60 degrees, click the check mark, Command Option 0, move it over. Remember, you can use the hand grabber tool to do that. You can click and drag with the hand grabber tool. Just make sure when you're done, you go back to the move tool. Click on layer and then use the arrow keys on the keyboard to line that up. Command 0 to zoom out, and then I'm going to go ahead and hit Command J, Command T, change my pivot point to the middle left, change the angle to 60 degrees, click the check mark, Command Option 0, zoom in, click on the layer, use the arrow keys to line that up, Command 0, Command J, Command T, and this last one, we're going to choose the upper left-hand corner and change the angle to 60 degrees. Go ahead and click the check mark, Command Option 0, zoom in, and then click on the layer, use the arrow keys on the keyboard to line that up. Command 0 to zoom out, and now I have a hexagon, and you can see the colors that I have created this pattern that is reflected and it's equal on all sides. We can then merge these 6 layers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If we go to Layer, Merge Visible, or remember Shift Command E will also do the same thing. Now I can duplicate this and I can drag it over here to the right. And you can see I can line that up, Command Option 0 to make sure that that space is minimized, bring it close together, Command 0 to zoom out, and then I can do that again. Command J, move this layer up here, snap it into place, Command Option 0 to zoom in, and then, where is it? There it is. It's hard to see sometimes if it doesn't line up quite so perfectly. Use the arrow keys to nudge it down, perfect, Command 0, and so on. So I'm going to go ahead and fill the rest of this page. Each time I hit Command J, I can move that layer into the place that I want using Command Option 0 and Command 0. We're going to go up here, click, use the arrow keys on the keyboard to nudge it into place. Make sure there's no gaps, Command 0 to zoom out, Command J, and you got to remember which layer you just copied. So I'm going to go ahead and click and drag this over here because I copied the layer that I just set into place without doing any other selections. Command Option 0, go up into the upper left-hand corner, click on the Move tool, nudge it into place. Command 0, and so on. So you create this pattern, and you could go on infinitely with this. There's another really cool thing that you could do, which is if you do this carefully, you have the actions up here. You could record an action so that you could automatically create this pattern with any image in a matter of seconds. So if you record what you're doing, you can then play back in Photoshop exactly what you've just done so that you don't have to do all this work. You only have to do it once perfectly, and then it'll work out after that you can just press a single button and it will do all of this for you. All right, so we're going to go over here, Command J, click and drag, and we're going to finish this up now. Voila, there we are. The last steps, the things you may want to do is flatten all of this. So layer, flatten image, merge visible, merge down, all these are the same thing. Or they're not the same thing, but they will do the same thing for this image. Now, if you're paying really close attention, you might notice that if I go over here to the right side, there's this little teeny gap over here. So when I moved this one after the first copy that I made of the hexagon, I had to move it over to line it up, and there's this little gap here. Now, I could fill that gap in by copying another file, or I can just crop it out. So I'm going to go ahead and use the crop tool, and I'm going to go ahead and select the whole image, and then I'm going to just drag this in just a little bit. Now, that's too much, so I'm going to zoom in, Command Option 0, scroll all the way over here, and I'm going to zoom in even further, so that's 200%, and then I can line that up real perfectly right to the edge of where that information ends, where that end of that particular part of the photo is. I can go up here, click the check mark, and then Command 0 to zoom out, and now I've got that balanced image. We are looking good. We have a single layer over here. The last thing you might want to do is make some adjustments. So Image, Adjustments, and then you've got Hue Saturation. You might do Color Balance, Photo Filter, Brightness and Contrast. Let's go ahead into this Hue Saturation here, because there's some fun things, especially with a colorful image here. You can change the hue and it'll change the colors of your final image. Now it does it so that all of the colors are changing at the same time here. You can also increase or decrease your saturation depending on what you want to do. You can make it black and white by decreasing your saturation. You can make it sort of nuclear and vibrant and neon by bringing the saturation all the way up. I'm going to go ahead and hit cancel here. If you wanted to, Image, Adjustments, Hue Saturation, if you wanted to just affect the reds, for example, you could go up here to the preset and go to, go to the master and change that to reds, and then it'll just change the reds. So for the most part, the other colors, the blues, the yellows are staying the same, but anything that's in the red, what it sees as red, it's changing. Let's go ahead and cancel that again. This is pretty colorful and vibrant as it is. I'm not going to mess with it. But if I wanted to here, I could go to another one that you might want to play with is Brightness and Contrast, Image Adjustments, Brightness and Contrast. And you can make it a little bit brighter, a little bit darker. But increasing the contrast is probably going to make those colors and lines pop a little bit more. So that's probably too bright. That's probably too dark. Yeah, you might want to make it a little darker or a little lighter depending on your image. So I might go a little bit on the minus side here for the brightness and bring that contrast all the way up. Click OK. But you do whatever looks good. All right. We are ready to save our work. You can go to File, Save, Save As, or Save a Copy. Any of those are good choices. Generally speaking, if I have a single layer and I don't need to change the file later, I'm going to go ahead and click Save a Copy, and that will give me the option. We want to make sure that we save it on our computer here. We're going to go ahead and save it to the place that you need to, wherever that is. I'm going to actually hit cancel, and you can save your work however you need to and wherever you need to. That is how you make a kaleidoscope.